Oh, good. How are you?
Happy Valentine's Day.
I know. Like, literally completely forgot about that until I saw the time date stamp on my computer.
Okay, all right. Now, does Valentine's Day work in your house, or is that just one of those like
We kind of counter program for Valentine's Day. So,
counter?
it's
So it's
like,
so I hate day.
yeah, wait, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
It's more.
I hate you.
I
I hate you
I
too.
hate you.
Okay,
I
I like
let's
that.
let's put it this way. My husband and I joke that we can talk to each other because it's like I'm the monster in the room, but you're the other monster in the room. It's kind of like our joke that we
Okay, okay,
do
okay,
some
okay, okay.
terrible things. So I got him
There's
a
a lot of the holidays that don't work for me. New Year's Eve, a lot of them, and a lot of some of I've always liked Valentine's Day because it's just sort of silly.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
Sue and I, so Sue gave me this the card today, and so it's a nice silly day. She had when I went in my office, there were balloons up and whatever.
Love it.
So it's a nice silly. My thing with Sue is my joke is if Sue ever leaves me, I'm going with her. But the real thing for us, and this is just a very lucky thing, every once in a while there are a couple of hours where I can't stand her. But there's never a day that goes by that I'm not in love with her, and that's true.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
and it's this very very lucky thing, So it's
How long
and
have you
mostly we get along great. It's mostly
how long have you all been married?
20 almost 28 years.
So
We got
that's
a 27-year-old, which is nice.
hmm
So beyond that, I love sharp objects and I love Gone Girl and the other one I haven't read. And you're working on a fourth novel, so we probably should skip this interview and you should just go back and write some more. Now, is this your office, by the way?
This is my office.
Is
Yes.
that a real freaking fire back there, or
Well, it's in I'm in Chicago, so
is
I
that for
like the
real? Okay.
local.
Well, Maggie, who set this up, Maggie, she's in Chicago too,
Oh, okay.
on my side. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but I think there's Maggie. Yeah, she said you were waving to each other from
Yes,
Chicago, somewhere in
exactly.
Chicago. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where's your fireplace, Maggie?
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, I mean, and Maggie, I think said this whole thing is just kind of human to human, and
Yeah.
no traps, no craziness, no, I mean a little craziness, but so just places to start. Um, you wind up in journalism school at Northwestern, great place. Just thoughts on can you teach people to write? Just a
The
curious kind of a thing.
the age-old question, right? I mean, I personally, and I should add, I've never taught a class myself. Like, so I don't
Uh-huh,
really
uh-huh.
do writing, because I do think it's so daunting. But I do think it's one of those, as with many things in the arts, there you can practice and bang around on as much as you want, but like there
Uh-huh.
has to be something inherent within the person of like the drive or a fire in the belly or just, like love of words and how they go together. And,
Hmm.
there has to be something special, I think, to create a good
Yeah. And
writer.
some people just have that ability to tell a story.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
just, and sometimes the language is not, the language is not great, but the storytelling is really, 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 really terrific. I guess one of the things, I went to graduate school at Vanderbilt. I was very lucky there. There was one writing course that I took, even though it wasn't going to help me to get my PhD. And the professor, he was kind of weird because at that time I was sort of like a hippie, long hair and all that stuff. And he couldn't have
Really?
been more conservative. I wish I had all that hair now, but a very conservative kind of dude. But he really liked what I did, and it was very useful to have somebody who believed in you and said
Yeah.
you
Yes.
got it, you can do this thing. And he had been published, and he'd worked with James Dickey, blah blah, and so that was a really big deal for me, just confidence wise,
Yes.
to have
Yeah.
somebody go, no, 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 you can do this, you can do this. That's a big deal, I think, for a
It is.
lot of some people are just arrogant and they think they can do it, but I wasn't in that group.
Oh my gosh. I was not at all. I was not at all. I was such a shy, like painfully, horrifically shy human.
Hmm.
And I remember my
Hmm.
third grade teacher, Dr. William Kyle, even he loved my writing and he set me up with kind of a little outside tutor. And I couldn't talk.
Uh-huh.
I was so shy that I couldn't even really work with that person. They would kind of ask me questions and I was like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But I
Uh-huh.
do think, so I'm always blaming myself of like, oh, I didn't take more outreach and I wish I'd had more, like been more active. But at the same
Yeah,
time,
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
shyness, that inherent shyness, I think is why I'm a writer, because I
Are you
spent,
still shy?
no, no,
No.
God,
Okay. Good, good, good. Yeah, yeah,
God
yeah.
drilled that
I,
on me.
I was to a certain extent as well, very shy. Didn't want to speak in public. And I did a thing, New York Times did something, and there were like five writers, and I followed this woman who was hilarious. And
Oh,
then went up there and I read from the book, and it was horrifying. But I learned the lesson, and what she did was just tell story after story after story. And I went, yes, this is better. People like stories. And
that's right.
that really helped me a lot, just in terms of confidence and just telling stories and being able to stand in front of a room and go, okay, I can do this. I can be
Yeah,
funny. I can be, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Did you
And part
come
of it
from,
is funny. When I go out with Mike Lupica, we do some books together. And we just enjoy being together and hanging out and just having, and one of the things we do is we will go out about 10 minutes before the session's is scheduled. And we'll go out and we'll go, Mike and Jim are going to be out in about 10 minutes. We're the warm up guys. And they say, like they're really, kind of jerks, and they
Harvard?
think they're funny, and we'll tell the joke to get people. "Oh, that's good laughter," or they're shy, and let's practice our cheering. But it's just kind of unexpected. And it also tells people we're not going to take ourselves that seriously. It's going
Yes.
to be fun, and because they want to be there, they want to have some fun.
Yeah.
Um, but so did the journalism, did that help you? The journalism school?
Oh, I think it helped me like
Uh-huh.
quite a bit. Yeah, I think I don't, and then, because then I worked at a weekly magazine, Entertainment Weekly, for 10 years while I wrote my first two books. And I think,
Right, right.
magazine, being a journalist writer does like a couple great things, which is one, you're never precious about any print that you write because you're so used to having to
Uh-huh.
cut it up and, divide it as a journal.
Uh-huh.
And it also teaches you, I mean, I think the most important thing it taught me was you can't wait for the muse to come. Like
Right.
there's no, you can't just
Yeah.
go, I don't feel like writing today. I don't have like I'm sorry, you got to turn in four columns
Uh-huh.
today of
Uh-huh.
copy.
No,
So
I love that. I love that. I had read that, and that's it, for whatever reason I'm kind of that way. I don't know why, but I am. And Lupica, who I do so, has just sort of become one of my best friends, which is a nice relationship with a co-writer. We talk like five times a day. It's ridiculous, but
oh my God.
he had his column. He still does. He still writes it twice a week. And so he's just in the habit of he writes 1,500 words. I was at a plane ride and he had to turn in a column and he sat there and he wrote it like in an hour. And there it was. And he's just used to doing his
Uh,
1,500 words every day. Boom. And I'm done now.
yeah.
But that thing of, you can't wait for the muse. You can't wait. And the muse, the muses, they're evil people anyway.
Very fickle. Very fickle are the muses.
But
Yeah.
just go right. My grandmother, who was a great influence, and she was another one, just in terms of confidence for me. And her one of the lines she says, "Hungry dogs run faster." And she
Oh,
always was this fan of, and the other thing that she used to say is, "Just go out and chop wood. Just go
there you
chop wood.
go.
Go chop."
Yeah.
Got it. You're right. And with when I work with co-writers, it's the same thing. And I like to work with people that have a certain amount of energy.
Mhm.
Um, but I love that notion about, no muse and just go out and do it.
I mean,
So,
I'm
so,
sure you're so prolific. I'm sure that you've written in some of the craziest
and
places
good
you can
too,
think of, right?
not
Like,
just prolific.
yeah.
I'm sorry, but what was the end of the sentence?
I'm sure you've found yourself writing in any sort of situation in any place in the world, at any like on a train, on a plane, like
Yeah.
you're like, I gotta get the words done,
One of the things that helps me, it makes it easier for me is, in this office right now, there are like 31 projects that are alive.
Yeah, yeah,
And being able to like go, okay, this one is not happening today. To be able to go to
yeah,
something else is really useful.
yes.
Because you suddenly go, oh no, yeah, yeah, I can tune into that. The voices, I got the voice to me is a big deal. People think, my voice is short chapters. It's not. The voice, it's very different. I mean, the kids' books are very different. The kids' books tend to be pretty funny.
Oh,
So it's just a different thing with whatever the heck they are.
my kids read your kids' books, so I have to say thank you on behalf of Flynn and Veronica, who love your stuff.
Both girls?
A boy and a girl.
A boy and a girl. Okay, yeah. Could we cover, the Jackie Ha Ha is, I think, a fun one. Well,
Yes,
not to get, but that's, I like the way that
great one.
turned out. And that's
Yeah,
always part of it. I mean, for me, you hope they're all going to turn out, and they don't.
right.
But it's really great when, and that's my whole thing. My drive. I'm not competitive about other people for the most part, unless they're assholes. So I just, it's just not what moves me. What moves me is I just, at the end of the project, I want to go, I'm really happy
Yes,
that I did that. Yeah,
yes.
I
That's
like
what,
within reason, yeah, I like the way the biscuits are good today. This is a good thing for me, just for me.
and
Um,
I always tell writers, when they say like, how do you know when it's good enough to send to an agent or good enough to send, I'm like,
yeah,
well, you know it because you know that you've written the book that you wanted to write. And
uh-huh,
that's not you writing it for someone else. You can't be going like, oh, I hope I hit this market or this market.
yeah,
You
yeah,
wrote the book for you and like that you would like to read. And when you get to that point,
mm-hmm,
that's when,
uh-huh.
that's when it's done.
Do you have anybody who you kind of will give little pieces to along the way, or
So I'm really stingy along the way, especially with like I
okay,
get the Vegas of what it is because I like to keep my husband is my first and best reader. He's
uh-huh,
amazing. He's so smart. Could be a great editor for anyone and often is. But I don't even tell him really much about
uh-huh,
it. I want to keep him to come in fresh so that
uh-huh,
and so I'm never like, did this work? Did you catch this? Or, like I want him to just
yeah,
read it
yeah, 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 yeah.
and and give me the comment then. So
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah. I have
I
a
didn't hear
couple of
that for a
people, and
while.
part of it is you kind of know what their strengths are as readers and editors, and you know what you're looking for with them. Sometimes is the voice working? Is it? Sometimes it's just pace, and certain readers you go like, well, they're really good at like if it's really dragging because they want stuff to move along, whatever. That particular person, which is so you were a critic. Now here's the thing. I really hate critics, so I probably hated you for a while, but now I like you because you're a writer. So just tell me a little bit about the critic thing. What that's like?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, it was fantastic. So I was the TV critic
Hmm.
for I don't know about 5 years there, and uh, it was it was really useful to me ultimately as a writer because it made me be able to kind of like disconnect from the experience and just be able to sit there and really go like what is making this great, like what specifically is making it great,
Hmm.
what's making it horrible. But I found the most useful and interesting reviews for me were the ones that were shows that should have been good and were just kind of straight line mediocre,
Uh-huh,
because
uh-huh, uh-huh.
that's like the
Yeah,
hardest
yeah.
to figure out is like then it really is a mystery you're trying to solve of like what's not working here because it feels like
Well, the mystery is usually the network that
oh
turned it in, that
yeah
flattened it all out.
yes
Yeah,
behind
unfortunately, because this is what worked yesterday, so we're going to do it again.
yeah yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's try it again. Yeah, you're right. But like some
So, I mean, obviously, and you had other critics that you were aware of, and blah blah blah. So, I mean, that gig to me, it's an interesting area to me.
Mhm.
But you liked it within reason. I mean, did you learn much? I mean, in terms of dealing with a lot of people's storytelling.
I learned a lot. And again, I think one of the surprise benefits of it is that I am not afraid to rewrite and I'm very critical of my own work. Like so I will
Hmm.
look in and go like this chapter is not acceptable. Like you have to go
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
and so I'm really very much like I rewrite things 9 or 10 times until I feel like I've really put what I need to
Hmm.
with them. And then if someone else doesn't like it, again, like you have to be like, well, great, they didn't like it, but it was what I was my full intention of trying to do. And then I feel
Hmm.
at least honest. You can sort of be like, they didn't like this thing, but like I know that I did everything that I could to make it that creation that I wanted to do. And
In
other
terms of, I mean, obviously, you've written novels, you've written short stories, you've written um, uh,
movies,
TV,
a lot
movies.
of
But
movies
any
and TV.
favorite there or least favorite or
I would say, I mean, my favorite is just very easy. It was Gone when I wrote my adaptation of Gone Girl
uh-huh.
for the film. So it was my first real screenwriting experience. I had an
Hmm.
amazing director who I'm still close friends with, David Fincher, who
Yeah,
really
uh-huh.
So, I mean, that was a
And
big,
what was he like? Or what is he like?
he's awesome. He's just,
Uh-huh.
he was, the wonderful thing about him was they, the first instinct with the studio is like, get rid of the author. We don't want the author to write the screenplay, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
so like they're going to be overly precious. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand it's different. And he was just like, he had read my first draft of the script that we sent out, and he was like, the writers, the rights, let the writer write, and really
Let
protected
the
me.
writer write. Okay, that's not one of the golden rules out there, but yeah.
It is not usually. So the fact that he took that big leap on me was really,
Actually, it is one of the rules. The initial thing is, oh, no, no, we don't want to tell you what to do. Go ahead and do it. And then they read your
then we'll
draft
get
and you
rid of
go,
you.
this isn't what we were thinking of.
Yeah.
Better off tell us what you're thinking, just so we know kind of what you think you want.
Right.
Let us, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I was just doing this recently. Just I'm sort of trying to remind myself when I'm here, I want to listen to a little bit of music. So I pulled up Rolling Stones, like their top 500 songs or whatever the heck it is. And you just go like that. This is kind of interesting with critics going like, well, we're going to tell you what the top, whatever. And you just go through the list and you go, this is kind of weird. Like Aretha Franklin was number one, Respect. Okay, yeah, I really like that song. I don't know number one song, but whatever. Public Enemy, Fight the Power, number two. Well, okay, interesting. In music and also just in terms of what it meant. Kind of cool. Best Beatles song, Strawberry Fields Forever. I don't know about that. Then weird ones like the Kinks, number 14, Waterloo Sunset. Do you remember? I vaguely, when I heard it, go, that's number 14. And then I listened to it, I went like, huh, I don't like it either. I don't remember. I know why I didn't remember it, but why would that be like the number 14? But it's just kind of interesting. The Times, New York Times, they did a top whatever the hell it was recently. And
Okay.
that's another one you go like, really? And the weird thing about that list to me is the Times readers, relative to their relatively literate audience, whatever. But I'll bet that the Times readers, I'll bet that almost all the Times readers, it'd be lucky if they read 25% of those books.
Yeah.
And that's the Times, you're like, what is that all about? That's kind of like, I don't know, weird. No wonder nobody's reading the Times Book Review. It's just, I don't know. It's a weird. Anyway, but the critic thing, I do find it fascinating. Hollywood, I wouldn't say you've had some luck because out there anything can happen. We actually shot the first book I did with President Clinton. We shot for like 5 days and then COVID shut it down.
Oh,
That's
okay.
bad luck. So
Wow.
we've had some bad luck along the way. So luck is a piece of it. But Sharp Objects, you had
Yes.
Amy Adams, wonderful. Dark Place is Therese Theron, really terrific. Gone Girl, really good cast, and then David Fincher, who I think I don't know him, but I mean, I think his work is great.
Yeah.
Viola Davis, who I'm actually doing a novel with now, which is so cool
You
with
are?
widows. How was she and to work with?
Oh, I loved her.
Uh-huh,
Loved her.
uh-huh.
Like just kind of how you would imagine. Just very,
And no, no, we're having a lot of fun. She's very intense,
yeah.
at least, and so we talk, quite a bit. We're almost done. And
Wow.
it's a cool story. It has to do with an abortion in the South, a novel.
How did you end
And
up?
she had an abortion as a young woman, and whatever. But so, what's your notion on Hollywood? You obviously you've been very successful out there, which is great. Love, hate,
So
love and hate.
I you're right. It's a love and hate. So my mom taught reading, so there's my books portion. My dad was a film professor, so I grew
Uh-huh.
up thinking those were very equal things. I never looked down on one or the other, thought one was better. It was like just two different wonderful ways of storytelling and communicating. But I always had a love, just an absolute love of movies. And this,
Uh-huh.
I lived in Kansas City. I didn't know anyone
Is that where you grew
remotely
up?
related. That's where I grew up, and so
Uh-huh. Okay.
to be able to be part of it, I still get that little kid thrill of it, of going like, oh my God, like I'm on a film set. This is amazing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
had all
yeah. I
different
remember the first time
experiences.
that with Kiss the Girls, it was the same sort of thing. Like,
Yeah.
wow, this book and all these people. I don't know if we needed all those people, but there they were. Speaking of Kansas City, quickly, two of my favorite and very influential in terms of my style, Kansas City, Mr. Bridge and Mrs. Bridge. Did you
Mm.
ever read those? I love them. I mean, and they really just boom when I'm however old I was, 22 or something like that. just
Yeah.
really like wow, the wit, and there's two different points of view which were just wonderful stuff.
Mhm.
I think he did Mrs. Bridge first, I think, and then the second one, I think
I'll
it
tell
was
you.
a while later, 10 or 11, whatever the heck it was.
Yeah.
And what a cool idea! And just go like, no, I'm gonna do it from the,
It's
uh,
really cool.
but I love those.
It's an area of the country that you can have a lot of creative license with because I've found like you're either from that area or you're not, and you don't know anything about it. Like, and
Yeah.
so it's been fun. My books are set only in that Kansas, Missouri area so far. It's like, it's
Hmm.
part of the Missouri Ozarks or it's the Kansas
Hmm.
hills and the loneliness of the prairie farmland and that those really are important pieces of those the settings for me are
Hmm.
really important in the book.
Hmm. Hmm.
We're
Hmm.
doing Dark Places right now, my second book for
Yeah.
HBO and
As a series, right?
series.
Yeah.
I mean, these go hopefully as a series. When it starts filming is when I'll feel confident saying that.
Yeah, I know, I know, I know.
Filming
Even
yet,
that, I
but
mean, based on the Clinton thing, even if they're filming, I'm still nervous.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yep.
have they approved the pilot or whatever? You don't need to tell me, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're in a good place. I'm feeling really hopeful about it. But to be able to
Uh-huh.
film a little bit in Kansas City would be so cool to me.
Uh-huh. 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 As
I'm
long as long as they're going to shoot there.
I was about to say, I'm
Oh no,
hoping
we're going to
Kansas
shoot it in
City.
Vancouver. Really? Okay.
Always, it's
Yeah.
like, that's Toronto, that's not Chicago.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's right. And we'll fake it. Don't trust us. We'll be able to pull it off. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Um.
when I did a series called Utopia for Amazon, and we actually filmed. It was set in Chicago. And actually filmed in Chicago, and that was such a luxury. Like I can take
Uh-huh.
advantage of the architecture here, and it's like cities are specific, and particularly if they are like key to your sense of place of the movie or book that you're doing, like you want it to
Yeah.
feel that way. You don't want it to
Now,
feel
do
like
your kids like movies and whatever? Are they
love.
addicted already? Yeah.
Yes, love it. My son and
Yeah.
I especially, um, I during COVID we read all the Agatha Christie books in order. So
Okay.
that was
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
amazing. Any of the films
Uh-huh.
connected to them and what we watched. So he became this huge Agatha Christie addict and like has spun off from there, like loves murder mysteries, loves I've shown him all the good old school, really good old school thrillers like The Omen and Rosemary's
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Baby.
Oh, I love The Omen. Right from
Yeah,
the
he
first
loves
scene.
The Omen. It's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I got him, Jim, I got him socks for Christmas. This shows you could get anything anywhere on the internet now. And it's the nanny with the rope around her neck
Uh-huh.
going,
Oh, well, that's
the
good. How
mom
old is
going,
this poor child that
Baby,
you're
it's all
ruining?
for you. He has socks from the Omen socks of all things.
Okay, all right. That'll make him a favorite in school. That's very cool. Um, yeah, Kansas City. I mean, the effect of where we grow up and our parents and blah blah. Anytime somebody goes into therapy, my thing is like immediately start talking about your parents. The,
Yeah.
the, the shrink will want you to talk like after a year, but they just want your money. Immediately start talking about your parents, even if they're the greatest parents in the world, because they shaped you one way, and it could have been. Mostly they're trying to do is a good job, but yeah, whatever it is, it happened. It happened with them.
I'm constantly having moments where I just mark the moment. I'm like, well, my children will be in therapy about this particular moment in 20
Well,
years.
there always going to be stuff that they're going to either blame on you or praise you for. The in terms of the film critic stuff, any like currently any shows that TV shows that like you really love the series or whatever. Like Slow Horses for me is one that I love.
Love Slow Horses. We were late to the party on Slow Horses, but now we're
I
loving
was a
that.
little bit late, I'm not late anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah. Any others that stick out in
My
your
husband and I are really into Severance right now, which we also
okay, uh-huh,
late
uh-huh.
to.
Are they
And
just doing the third season now?
yeah, yeah, second or third.
Whatever season it is, yeah.
We personally just hit the cliffhanger, this insane cliffhanger at the end of the first season. And so literally tonight we're like, we have to watch Severance. We have to start season two and see what
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I love and
Super violent one that it's a guy who did Revenant. What the hell is it called? Forget the name of it. I just recently, it's a Netflix thing. It's really violent, but it's sort of like, okay, that's weird. The next step,
yeah.
ooh, you out weirded yourself on that one.
Well, I have promised my son is now we're finishing watching Squid Games. and which
Okay.
is quite it's really amazing. I kind of folded my arms against it and was like, I'm not gonna watch it. It was like such a huge phenomenon that I was kind of like,
Yeah.
it can't be that good. Like everyone's like, oh, I was like, I resist uproar about anything, so I usually sort of
Uh-huh.
turn away from
Yeah.
anything that's a big deal.
Yeah. I resist, but then I get curious. I go, okay, well, what's it?
Exactly.
And
What am I
and
missing?
sometimes like with that, it was plenty for me to watch an episode. Okay, I kind of got it. I'm not interested in watching more, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to happen. Mr. Beast and I talking about doing something. Have you run across him yet?
No,
Mr. Beast? Oh,
Mr.
oh, I'm surprised that if you got kids, because every kid seems to be aware. Ask him about Mr. Beast.
I will.
And he does videos, and he does like 26 a year or something like that. Every one of them draws a bigger audience than the Super Bowl.
Is that
It's
right?
yeah. It's
I am out of
bizarre. It's
touch,
interesting.
man.
He's very
Okay.
clever. He's 26, I think.
Uh-huh.
And he just, it's an interesting phenomena. Um, both of us, to some extent, are interested in sort of the darker sides of the world or whatever. There was a quote, something about the sort of frustrating the idea that women are either innately good or innately nurturing, and that whole area,
Yeah.
which is interesting to me. And yes, of course, that is silly for me, but a lot of people they object to you having a
Yeah.
point of view, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I've always pushed against that because I think it really, I mean, we can be nurturing. We do have that facility but I think if you say that's primarily what we are, it is sort of putting us in this terrible box
Yeah,
of like, I'm the sidekick, I'm the caregiver, I'm gonna be over here.
yeah.
You need, and like that's never an interesting character. That immediately puts someone kind of to the
Yeah,
side, and also it just is. It's not a human thing that anyone
it
is
doesn't make sense. I mean,
100%.
there's so many of these
Yeah,
boxes. Like, I'm sorry, there is no black character.
yeah,
I'm sorry, there is. Yeah, what is that? I mean, it's just so crazy. Well, nobody, they wouldn't act that way. What are you talking about?
yeah.
You mean all people, or do you have this idea that there's like one person that represents,
Right.
Caucasians or blacks, or it's like, well, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Women, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nuts and it's boring and it's
It
dangerous.
is. Other
All
than
three
that, I
of
love
those.
it. Um, do you have any routine, any writing routines, or what's the stupidest, craziest, goofiest thing in terms of your routine? Anything? We don't have to go that way, but anything that's
Right.
interesting about your routine.
Right. Right. Well, I have this. I'm daring to show you my dirty office, but so. I have a whole whiteboard wall. That's all it
Uh-huh.
is a whiteboard wallpaper. And I
Uh-huh.
will scroll like that's where I start doing my ideas. I'm like, it's like a Jackson Pollock of
Uh-huh.
like
Uh-huh.
phrases and like, well, oh, this character, maybe this
Like they
character.
have for serial killers. I got it. Yeah. Perfect.
Exactly. It's very like if you would walk in here and read this, you would be like, this person is very dangerous and I should get away
Uh-huh.
because it's just scraps of different, things that I'm like I'm literally women multitask, meaning we do our jobs plus all the other jobs no one else wants! Exclamation mark.
Uh-huh.
Like this idea for this character, like women are kinder. That means we put up with all the bullshit that men refuse to. Women nurture. That means we give up what we want for others. So it is that sort of idea of what you're
Uh-huh.
talking about of
Uh-huh.
like being programmed in that way. So like that's been on my brain a little bit. So it's funny you mentioned that.
I
But
mentioned the Mr. Beast. I went to his offices in North Carolina, and he's a massive building, and it's all crazy and blah, blah, blah. But
oh,
his mother's office is totally organized. Every other office there, kids, they're just writing on the walls. Literally every other office. It's just nothing but, cots and people sleeping on the floors and writing on the walls, and except his mother's office, which is
wow.
totally desk and the sofa and the whole, but it's fascinating just in
Okay,
terms
well,
of
I clearly have definitely embarrassed myself by not knowing Mr. Beast. I
no,
haven't
no,
even
no, no, no.
touched.
I didn't. I was vaguely aware, but not really. But once you get into it, it's kind of like, oh, this is really fascinating. But I do get it. That thing of like Squid Game. Yeah, I'm just curious. What the hell is that? I'm just, okay, romanticities. Okay, yeah, what is that? Like I haven't read a lot of those kinds of books, but like, I read, it's a different thing, but Hunger Games, and I went like, this is good storytelling. And I read the first Rebecca Yarros, and I went, okay, this is good. It's a good story, for me.
Yeah.
But I just get curious about things like that. You obviously you've had a bunch of success. Do you enjoy it?
The success part?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Number one, yes. I mean, it
Yes.
is fantastic. But I would also say, very truthfully, I always thought, like I said, my first two books I wrote at nights and weekends because I had a day job, and I just
Hmm.
assumed that was what I would do, and I was really
Hmm.
happy about it. It was like, well, I get to still be a writer. Like I've got my steady 9 to 5, and then I can go do this amazing thing, and I get paid for it. That's great. But
Uh-huh.
they didn't pay enough for me to quit my job. Like, as you know, like until you hit a certain
Uh,
level, like people
yeah.
think because you have a book published that all of a sudden you have it made, and that is, as we know,
And then
is
you're paranoid that it's going to stop anyway.
you never know exactly.
Right.
And then so when Gone Girl happened, it was just like lightning in a bottle. I mean, that happened we were not expecting it. No one was expecting it to be. We thought it'd be a little
How
bit
could
better.
they not expect that? That's crazy. That just says bad things about your publisher. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, no, it does. Anybody really, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you read that and you don't get it, there's something, I read somewhere that some people will come up and say that they hated Gone Girl. Nobody should hate Gone Girl. That's insane. You could be neutral on it, I guess. No, seriously. If
Well,
you,
here's what makes them
uh,
mad. Because I always ask. Again, it's the critic in me. It's like I'm interested. I
uh-huh.
would always much rather someone hate my book than just be like, I liked it, because that means they didn't really
No,
think.
I'm going to go with the neutral. I liked it. I'm
I
sorry.
love, so yeah. So I sort of get into it when they're like, I couldn't stand this book, and I'm like, oh, cool. Like that,
Uh-huh,
you
uh-huh.
thought about it. So like, tell me why. And that it is always some version of there was no justice and Amy should have been punished. And
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
wanted justice, and I'm like, well,
You mean like in life where everything gets buttoned up? Yeah, uh-huh.
yeah, you're right. Everything turns out just fine. You're right in life. Yeah, I'm
Uh-huh.
always like, you're right. This book is not for you because there's nothing about it that says there's going to be any
I'm
justice.
sorry. And life is not for you either. I'm
It's,
sorry.
yeah, and you're very disappointed all the time.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, the idea was somebody, and they say something, you go like, oh, that's a really great point. I hadn't really looked at it that way, and that's a great point. And that is cool and interesting, and then I forgive them for hating my stuff. That's okay.
I mean,
You know
I'm the
what?
same
You're right.
way. I
I'm
don't.
suddenly I hate my stuff too. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, I've read certain things where I've been like, oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, like I screwed that up. Like
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
appreciate, it doesn't bother me, I guess, partly because being a critic, I know the person is who's writing it. It's not some magical, monolithic entity that's judging me forever. It's like a person like I was, who's like eating a tuna salad sandwich and finishing the book and then typing out their copy. And so it's sort of like, oh, it's just another human telling me what they think. So I guess
Uh-huh.
unless it affects me sort of less, like either
We
way.
were talk briefly about slow horses, and so bear with names. Gary Olmsted, is that right? No, do I have it right?
Gary, oh my God, no, not Gary
Okay, yeah. At
Oldman.
any
Gary
rate,
Oldman. Sorry.
but
Yeah.
people asked about, like asked him about, well, how does he feel about, people that don't necessarily like his acting and stuff. He said, I don't care about that. That's their business.
Yeah,
Which I love. I love that. It's just it's so great. That's their business. That's so perfect. It's such a wonderful thing
it
and
is.
like
It's a
very
way to do it.
insightful and cool. And I'm going to steal that from now on. I'm not going to attribute it to them. This is the last time. From now on, that's going to be my line.
Good.
So Nick and Amy, they were probably based on you and Brett, right? No, 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 no.
People do,
Well, you
yeah.
mentioned, I mean, Missouri and that kind of thing, and then the writers, okay, a little bit there, right?
Well, I wrote it. It's funny because I'm much more Nick. I'm the more Nick than the Amy. Because I wrote it. I'd gotten laid off, as many journalists did, in about like 2009, and the market crashing, and I got laid off. So I funneled a lot of my angst into the character of Nick, who is also a recently unemployed
Uh-huh,
journalist
uh-huh.
who has to go home and licking his wounds from not quite
Hmm.
making it to New York City. And that's exactly how I felt. And so it is like that piece of it. And I was also
Hmm.
recently married. And so I was asking myself a lot of like overly like intense, like, what is marriage? What are the gender roles within marriage? And how are they reinforced or freed up? And, all these like overly analytical things. But I was thinking about so
Hmm.
much, like it was a perfect thing to kind of churn into a good mystery. The mystery basically started like, you know, I watched too much Dateline and it was like these poor people who are like suspected of anything, you cannot act correctly. Like no matter what. If you're
Uh-huh.
too friendly or too eager to talk about like it's like, oh, they love the spotlight, they definitely killed her. And if you're too stoic, it's like they don't care enough. They probably killed her. So it really started with that idea of this poor guy, Nick, who kind of is suddenly in the spotlight and is the people pleaser, but and it just keeps working against him. And he is hiding things, and it goes on like that. So, but it started with that idea, and then all the marriage
Hmm.
stuff. What I was getting married and having babies and stuff while I was writing it.
And you are working on a fourth novel now, I hope. Is that
I
correct?
am. I am. I
One
will
crumb for us needy, just a crumb.
say a
No?
crumb. It is about a very I can't say anything that's not gonna make it sound like all my other books. So, as you know, like
Okay, well, no,
writers
no, no, no
writers
crumbs
rewrite
is
their
okay.
same
Well,
story.
we'll just sit here and be needy and,
It's taken me a little bit longer because I will admit, and here's the truth, and I will not say this again, but I think I thought after Gone Girl and it was successful that suddenly that would make me a better writer and I would write
uh-huh.
things would come to me more easily. And
Yeah, yeah.
I lost a little bit of discipline, I will like fully admit. And so I'll hit a dead end, and instead of like banging my way through it like I have always done, I'll write a screenplay.
Or do something else. Okay, 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 okay,
Pivot
okay.
over to do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
getting
yeah.
there, and I
Well,
think
we're hopeful out here in the world.
thank you.
Somewhere along the way, you kind of admitted that you're ambitious, which is an interesting word to me, because it sort of suggests that there are goals or something. So how does that work or
Right.
not work? Or
Right.
ambition just sort of suggests that ambitious to be something, to do
Right.
something. Yeah.
There's a
How
little
does
bit
that? I mean, is that a word that you still would use about yourself?
I do as long as it's done, and like there's a connotation sometimes I think you're right where it's like a graspingness, like I'm ambitious and I'm never going to be sort of satisfied, and I
Uh-huh.
want a specific object, right? I'm just ambitious to always try something, try the next thing. Like I'm sure you're the
Hmm.
same way.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'm ambitious in meaning like I'm not ambitious money wise or like I need to be the number one bestseller or that type of thing. I am ambitious to like really squeeze everything out of my writing capability that I can. So it's
Hmm.
it's that like I certainly I think ambitious is often used too as a
Hmm.
slap against to women. When it's applied to women, I think it's even
Or
heavier
men, or men. A lot of
than
this shit it goes both ways. It is. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's much worse. Yeah. Yeah, and I think my ambition is the same way. I'm not really competitive. I don't care what the other people are doing. I don't, people always think, oh, don't you, if your book isn't whatever, I don't know. I just, I said it a little earlier. I just want that I want to be satisfied with the project and go, okay,
yeah.
this turned out. I like the way this turned. I like the way these kids. I actually like my kids' books better than my adult books.
Is
I think they're
that right?
better. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think they just work better. And
So when did you
I
remind me
can't be funny when the adult books,
right.
because Alice Cross and the murders and all that shit. And I don't know,
Yeah.
it's just not that
Less
funny.
less goofy. When did you
Yeah.
start writing the children's books? How long have you
I
trying to remember?
started when Jack, our son, was I don't know how old he was, 6, 7, 8 years old. He's a very bright kid, but he wasn't a big reader.
Okay.
And it just seemed to me that if you want to get kids, if your objective is to get kids reading, give them stuff that when they finish it, they're going to say, "Give me another story or give me another book."
Yeah.
Don't give them stuff that turns them off. And unfortunately, in school district after school district, they keep turning these kids off. I'm really involved with the University of Florida. It's a good school. The percentage of kids reading at grade level in the country is like 43%, and it's gotten worse, post COVID. They have a system, which part of it is going back to phonics and stuff, where they can get it up into the 80s.
Okay.
And that means saving thousands and thousands of kids. Because if 80% of the kids, they're competent readers,
Mm,
they have a chance of getting through high school. They're going to have more opportunities, literally. I mean, and
yeah.
insofar as we don't, and it's been very hard. Like in Florida now, that system, I think they're in 13 or 14 counties, and Florida now is number one in terms of black kids reading at grade level, and number one with Latino kids reading at grade level. And the state is in the top five or so. So in Florida, there's a lot of things that aren't working in Florida, but they're doing better.
Hmm.
And the system that they have, Canada is picking up because Canadians are a lot smarter than Americans. The one Trump thing did say something which resonated a little bit, which is interesting in itself. But he pointed out that right now, 40 countries, America ranks last of the 40 countries in terms of kids reading at grade level, or just education in general. And yet we're first in terms of the amount spent per kid in the classroom. So you just look at it and you go, okay, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. And I
Totally.
think a big piece of it is I'm working in England a little bit about that similar problem. And what they're trying to do is to get kids thinking more of stories rather than reading. Stories, 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 stories. And I was earlier in the week, we were doing a little documentary movie down here about this reading thing. And I went into a couple of the classrooms where they're now practicing this way of doing it. And one of the teachers was brand new, just started, just get out of school, got pulled in because the teacher who was doing the kindergarten class was pregnant and suddenly she couldn't be in class anymore. So he got thrown into this thing. And I'm sitting in this class, and it was a kindergarten class and then a second grade class. And it's amazing. These kids were like so engaged. It wasn't like it wasn't faking it because I was in there for the whole class, engaged and good. And the second grade kids and chirping about all this stuff and loving the teachers. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a teacher. Every kid in the class, which is, just the love, you could feel it. But just, they're going to be good readers. They're going to be
Yeah.
good readers. And they have cut down some of these schools, the amount of interventions means kids that, really couldn't keep up. It was like 50, 60%. And now a lot of these schools, it's like 4%, 6%, which
Gosh.
is spectacular. That
Wow.
means these kids that were sort of put on the side because they couldn't keep up. Now it's like, oh no, no, we keep up within reason. So at any rate, but it's cool stuff. I love it. What else? What didn't we cover? You've been a critic, but now you're reformed. That's so cool. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. A recovering critic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, just middle
This has been
between.
great, and I love your stuff, and I am really. In fact, the one I didn't read the other book. I'm going to read that. I'm going to buy that today. Right now, I'm buying the other book, the one I haven't
Yeah.
read.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're
Thank you.
welcome.
Well, and my
And
kids
I'm
are
happy that
like,
your kids are getting diseased
they're
by some of
totally
my
digging
books.
it. Totally. And you're so
Good.
right. It's like the idea of that's why series I think are so popular. Is like it does it like everything leads on a cliffhanger and makes you want to grab the next book. And like anything to
Yeah.
keep kids wanting to
One of
bring.
the problems now is as you're aware of as an author, there's so many places they don't carry any kids books. You get these big, the Costco's or whatever. There are no kids books there, zero. That's
Yeah.
like, nah, that's not you're not being a good citizen there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The small stores can't carry the series. I mean, they can carry a couple of them, which you kind
Yeah.
of get.
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble still carries a lot of kids books, but most of them it's like there's no kids books, and that's unfortunate.
Mhm.
Libraries, obviously that's a great place to go. Free books.
Yeah.
The libraries have problems.
Libraries.
My solution or not solution, but thing to help libraries, like you go to a big museum in New York or Chicago, and they'll have the big banners out,
Mhm.
something like, something engaging. I got to go I got to go into that museum now. To me, every library in the country, well, not every, but a lot of them should have this big banner out there saying the free store. All this
Yeah.
shit is free there. Imagine if you're in a mall
Right.
and there was the free store. There'd be lines
Right.
around the block. No,
Yes.
all this shit is free in here. You just go in here. It's all free. Oh, as opposed to, oh, I don't like libraries. Oh, free store? I'm there. I don't know. Just me being
I
crazy.
like it. I think you got
Yeah.
something
So
there.
anyway, all right. Well, that's all we got. Thank you, thank you,
Nice
thank you.
speaking with you.
You got a little a medal like Caitlin Collins, which is so cool.
That's anything
Caitlin,
like Kate Fox.
I was on the show, and my wife is University of Wisconsin, and they were going to play Alabama, and she's a big football fan, and so on the just be, she came on before I was going to be on. There was a commercial break, and I said, "Oh, Wisconsin's going to play Alabama. Do you want to come?" She said, "I'm there." So she came, and we all sat in the Wisconsin chancellor's booth, and we really had a fun day. She stayed with us all day, but and she's just so polite, and they killed Wisconsin. But every time they scored, she'd very quietly go, "Roll Tide." Quietly, roll tide, just quiet, which was very polite because she's in, the chancellor's box at Wisconsin, but she couldn't, roll tide. It was very
Love it.
cool.
Love it. I
All
love
right. So
everything
anyway,
about
thank you
her.
so much. This was great for me. I hope it was
Yeah.
good for you.
Me too.
I love your office. I love the way. Maybe I get a whiteboard. I need that.
My husband did it for me as a surprise for my birthday like years
Oh,
ago.
really?
The
Okay.
best present he's ever given me.
All right. That's a good. Maybe Sue can do that for me. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
You take care.
Bye bye. Yeah.